got a t-shirt with bloodstains all over it, maybe laundry isn't your biggest problem right now.
I remember the day the candle shop burned down. Everybody just stood around and sang happy birthday.
And a security guard came over and said, "You're gonna have to move. You're blocking the fire exit." As though if there was a fire, I wasn't gonna run.
You make love to the right woman, Johnny, it's beautiful, beautiful. I mean, the last time I made love to my wife, it was ridiculous. Nothing was happening. I looked at her, I said, "What's the matter? Can't you think of anyone either?"
I never learn, you know, like a waitress will bring my meal. "Hey, enjoy your meal, you too!" But you don't have one, do you? I'm a doofus. If you do eat, enjoy it when you eat it. If you have a break or something later, if you get an opportunity, that's all I'm trying to say. That's all that I'm driving at, really.
Hello, welcome to Comedy Think Tanked, a podcast with Leonard Kimball and Nick Gordon, two comedians who know how to take a drink and have a thought. Sit back, get comfortable, and enjoy. Now, whether they're ready or not, here's your hosts, Leonard and Nick.
Hello and welcome to Comedy Think Tanked podcast.
It does sound like you're saying taint. Oh, God.
I've already messed up the name of this.
No, that's all right. That's okay. Hi, Leonard. Hi, Leonard. It's good to see you.
Hello, Nick Gordon. How are you?
Leonard Kimball and Nick Gordon. We are, I'm good. You're good. We do have to establish how to say this, though. Comedy Think Tanked. And it does... oh man, that's okay though.
Is it too late to change the name?
We have a logo, so
we have a logo. Oh, that's right. We have a logo. We
already put it on Twitter.
We got a Twitter. It's on Twitter. It's official.
It's on Twitter. It's on Insta.
It's like part of our presidential record. Once we tweet it out, I think that's done.
That's the end until we get to a point 4 years from now when they tear down our Twitter and archive everything and say these guys they've done it now. It's over.
They've done it now.
That was the last straw. They're out.
They used tanked instead of taint.
Taint. They should have used taint.
They should have used taint. Comedy Think Taint. But so, I think like we would have like immediately have gotten some explicit tag and maybe drawn, gotten rid of some part of our audience, but drawn in other, unwanted part of it.
We would have completely flipped it. It would have been quite the reversal of fortune. But no, we are Comedy Think Tanked, TANKED.
Right.
And this is us doing a comedy themed podcast with a name that may or may not be easy for people to remember. I think over time people will do it. I think I'm certain that after 12, 15 episodes, I'm going to be able to pronounce the title correctly, and that'll help our audience. Yeah,
I think that'll be good.
whatever audience we may establish, muster, if you will.
Right. So help our audience understand tanked as opposed to tank. And okay, go.
I my thought in my mind was I've always heard the saying write drunk, edit sober, and so a lot of the jokes that I have come when I'm not 100% in tune with reality. So whether that be through too many beers or maybe overtired, but you're tanked. You know what I mean? You're tanked. And I also like the idea of like the Washington D.C. think tanks, and like so kind of combining the two. Like you're hammered and you're coming up with great ideas that may or may not help the cause going forward. So comedy think tanked. and doing a podcast with you because we have great conversations and we make each other laugh and and we hit it off right from the get-go. I think so. So it's as much as like you and I have had conversations for like we've been on Zoom, during this pandemic a lot, and we've had like 2-hour long conversations where you and I just crack each other up for a while, and then just like 5 minutes ago, where we're like, okay, now we gotta actually officially have a conversation, and let's officially record this. And damn it, Leonard, we just got to do like 10 minutes. So what are we going to talk about? And we're like, fuck, I don't know what the hell. There's nothing to talk about.
There's nothing to talk about. And we're so
I'm looking
nervous.
at the news right now. Yeah. There's just nothing.
I'm so nervous about having this conversation that you and I have had like dozens of times. So like, I don't know what to talk about. I don't even know you. I don't even know you right now.
Yeah. You are a complete stranger to me. But actually, it wasn't too long ago. You were a complete stranger to me. Because we've
2 years ago,
2.5 years now.
Yeah.
Fall of 2018, maybe. Is that when we met?
So at your was it at your comedy writing class, or was it before?
It was my adult education comedy writing class. I said someone actually it was Dawn Hartill, our guest, who said, hey, you're a great joke writer, you should go do you should teach how to write jokes. And I was like, what? Like, that's not an option.
It wasn't one of those situations where someone says, those who can't teach, those who,
No, like she
was being nice. That's what I'm saying.
Complimentary of my joke writing processes, right. Which at that point was just basically, stupid texts like that I think is fun. I do find sometimes I write good jokes in emails at work, and I have to remember to write them down on my notebook because it's like, oh, that was funny. I laughed. I don't know who if the receiving end laughed or not. If they really did it. People write back LOL and they're like, oh, and maybe that was funny, but. Most likely they're just being nice. So, yeah, no. Don said you should go to over to Adult Ed over there at the high school and teach how to write jokes. And then I showed up the first night, and you, along with several other people, were there. Mm-hmm. And
I knew that you and I were going to hit it off from one of those first times. I think when people showed up in that class, and someone was, in class and saying some really weird, awkward stuff that they had written, and I look up and I keep thinking to myself, don't establish eye contact with Nick right now, because if I lock eyes with him, I'm gonna bust out laughing. And it's no good.
and being a comedy class, like, it probably would have been okay, but I think it would have been known that we're laughing for the completely wrong reasons.
Yes,
because most likely a lot of the people in the room are going like, well, actually, I say a lot of other people. There was only 4 other people in the room, wasn't there?
It was packed with 4
packed room. Was like all the way to the rafters. It was one of those stadium style seating lecture halls, and and it was, I'd love to say I made a ton of money doing that, but no. And I think I probably in the same moment was thinking, the same time that you were thinking, don't make eye contact, I was thinking to myself, why the hell would anyone allow me to get in front of a room of perfectly good strangers and teach them anything at all about life in general, let alone writing a joke? Like, clearly I'm not qualified to do this. It was the one and only time I taught, air quotes, a class or were hired to do such a task. It was the strangest thing. But I got to meet you.
You wouldn't do it again?
I would do it again. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Where I live now, I was actually thinking I should call down to the adult ed area, whatever it is. I got a flyer in them.
Yeah, I think if you do it again, I want to sit in the back, and just to establish eye contact with you, and just to see if I can keep you from laughing at whatever's going on.
That's the whole goal for the 8 weeks, is to see if I can crack up the professor. No, I think we should do it together someday. I think we should do a stand-up class, a comedy writing class, for people who are interested, someday down the road. Maybe even a podcasting class, because we have learned a shit ton, in the process of trying to set this thing up.
Right.
You just like you said, like one point, the language, the vocabulary, the vernacular of it all, like learning what are the right things to say when you're asking a question of somebody.
Right. Yeah. And the right things to ask when you're figuring out the technology of this and editing, and what is that called? It's like, is that called a clip? Is that called a split? Is that called a bump or a sting? Doug Birgfeld is like, oh, I'm making it, this is going to be a good sting for you, or is it an intro? Is it a bumper? I don't know what bumper is. I don't know. I was like, I want to make some sound. I want to have some sound happen.
It sounds like a bunch of different types of bees.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bumper bee. It's a sting bee. It's oh God, but no, we're learning that. But before we got to this point, though, we became fast friends, and through comedy and doing stand up, and we got ourselves set up with our little comedy production.
The River Comics,
the River Comics team, and we've had some ups and downs with that over the last 2.5 years. But like I said, we became fast friends doing that, and now we're in the age of pandemic and COVID. We're looking for ways to continue on when we decided to do a podcast together.
It's been great, Nick. And I want to officially say I've not found a better white bearded friend than you.
I don't know if you are my one black friend, but some people might not know that's one of your jokes. That just sounded really bad.
Am I your fattest black friend?
You're definitely my fattest black friend. Am I your skinniest? No, I'm not very skinny.
No,
sorry. I don't know. I've tried to lose weight.
I mean, I want to be honest with you. You're not my skinniest white friend.
Damn it. Maybe someday.
We have a friendship built on honesty and
honesty,
trust.
Honesty, trust, and laughter. And that's how you build any good relationship, comedic or otherwise, I believe.
True. Absolutely.
Like, coming from me is even more funny.
Cue sad music.
Yeah. No. But our guest today, I mentioned her previously. She's the one that pushed me into us meeting. She's the reason why we met, essentially. Because if she hadn't said...
100%. Because if she hadn't said you should teach a comedy writing class, and if I hadn't seen the listing on, I think I saw like a advertisement on Facebook or something like that for Lewiston Adult Ed. Hey, are you interested in? I think the blurb said do you make your friends laugh? Do your friends think you're funny? Something like that. Have you ever been interested in stand-up comedy? And I thought, yeah, sure. I'm interested in stand-up comedy. And I took the class led by Dawn Hartill. And then 6 or 8 months later was in your comedy writing class.
That's crazy.
It's been great. So Dawn has been the teacher to the stars.
That was a loving laugh. That was a loving laugh. That wasn't a disparaging laugh. That was. It's true. She's taught a lot of people.
No, she has. A lot of our comedy friends have all been in Dawn's class, and it's been great. Like Nick Dufall, Julie Poulin, and I've met a lot of people in comedy, and have her to thank for that.
Yeah, the connections are wide and varied, and will continue to grow. And she's one of the linchpins, if you will, of our local comedy scene in that regard. Right. I think you'd agree. So coming up on the show today, we'll have our interview with Dawn, and it was a great conversation where I don't know, what did we talk about? We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about where she comes from, and her first time doing comedy in Philadelphia, which I think is her first and only time, I think, and the fact that she still had a car afterwards, she thinks is a success. So she didn't get many laughs, but she did survive.
Yes,
a trip to Philly and elsewhere too. In her comedy experience. So, but we'll let her talk all about that. So,
all right, great. So, without further ado, here's Dawn Hartill. Hi, Dawn.
Dawn.
Good morning. How are you?
How you doing? We're doing good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. You're one of the first.
One?
Yeah. We haven't decided yet.
Oh, I see.
No, just kidding. It all depends on how it goes.
Yeah, I did the morning show yesterday with Mark Turcotte, and he and I were deciding which one of us were going to give you more shit about who gets to be first.
Uh-oh.
That must have been off air because I actually listened to it.
Yeah, it was off air.
I went back and listened to it. So
we would love to be the reason you and Turcotte start fighting again. So that's
that was our entire goal.
That's all we wanted, like, from doing this.
Actually, since you brought it up, that's interesting. Like, you guys on the radio yesterday, you sounded great together, and it was, we're nothing had ever.
Professionals. We're both professionals. We know how to act on air.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, at the same time, like, people don't get along on or off air, I don't think, without some sort of rapport, right?
Oh, yeah. Mark and I have known each other for years. We knew each other way before comedy, even. So, yeah.
How many years ago? How many years ago do you think?
I don't know. So he used to work at the Sun Journal with my husband, and that was a long time ago. And then he was the PR guy for the Dempsey Center. So I think he started doing comedy when he was doing that and was doing fundraisers. And that's when I started going to comedy shows, was through when he was doing fundraisers, when he first became a comedian.
And did you think like, oh, I can do that and I can do it better?
No, not necessarily. I would go to shows and I just have a great time. And it took a lot of shows, to understand that these are just normal people. Because I always thought like comedians were, super famous people, because that's all you ever saw on TV, growing up and stuff. And then I realized, like, after going to some local comedy shows, that these are just regular people, and you just have to figure out if you have that talent.
Regular people that like the sound of their own voice.
Yeah. I suppose that's definitely a trait of most comedians. But honestly, I took a stand-up comedy class, I think it was 6 years ago now, and I didn't know if I'd actually do stand-up comedy. I just thought it would be fun, like something fun to do for 6 weeks to get out of the house. I never thought it would turn into like a side job,
Yeah.
So what class did you take?
I took the Lewiston Adult Ed stand-up comedy workshop with Tuck Tucker.
Ah, okay.
The one that you now teach.
Yes. 4th year this year, I'll be teaching that class. And I took a couple other workshops after that. I mean, because you can only get better, right? From
Sure.
Learning from more people. So I took a advanced stand-up comedy class with Tim Farrell. And I did another one with Mark Scalia, I think. That was like a 1-day workshop. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. What do you remember, like the first time, maybe pre-comedy workshops, like the first time you got a big laugh?
Like before a workshop?
Like, was it
like
as
not trying to be doing stand-up, you mean? Like just
like in life, like the first time like you made a bunch of people laugh.
Yeah, I actually do remember that. It was in 4th grade. In 4th grade, we had to so I grew up in New York State, and like in any state, in 4th grade you do your state history. So in Maine, obviously people do Maine state history in 4th grade. So I was in New York and we were doing New York state history, and we all had like this I don't know how many weeks long project we had to do. And we each took a different thing from New York State, and we like didn't get to choose it ourselves. We had to like pick it out of a bucket, like what your topic was. So somebody got, you know, the Empire State Building, somebody got Statue of Liberty, somebody got the Brooklyn Bridge. Dawn got the Guggenheim Museum. And in 4th grade, I had no idea. So we were supposed to do this weeks-long project. You have to bring in something like a poster or a model or something, and you had to write an oral report and present it in front of the class. And I didn't have any help at home. Like, you could see some of the kids came in and, you know, their parents were way involved, and I remember somebody had the New York Stock Exchange, and they had like a working ticker tape machine, you know.
What year was this?
Yeah, it was
ticker tape.
It was old. It was a long time. It was a long time ago. Anyways, they had all these things, like everybody had these cool projects, and I had no one to help me. So I had like sketched out from like a copy in the encyclopedia what the Guggenheim Museum looked like on a piece of poster board. And then I didn't know how to write a report. I didn't know how to do anything. And I basically like pretty much just copied stuff out of the encyclopedia onto my oral report to read in front of the class. And I didn't know how to write a report. So I read it. And at the end, I like said, "Sincerely yours, Dawn." Because I didn't
Dear
know
Santa.
that, like reports weren't letters. And of course that got a laugh. And then I said, "P.S. The phone number to the Guggenheim Museum is," and I gave the phone number, and the teacher about fell off of his desk, like laughing, and the whole class was laughing. And I just stood there. I didn't know why it was funny, but I liked that everybody was laughing, and that I like had grasped the attention of like, you know, 30 people in this class.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you could have put the phone number in the body
in the report
of the letter, but
the letter.
I've already said "sincerely yours," so now I gotta
do a PS.
Right.
Yeah. And then to add insult to injury to that whole thing, we all had to do like a test. Like after everybody had done their reports, it was over like several days. So then like on Friday, the teacher gave a test, and there was one question from every person's report on the test. So you had to know like one fact about all these things. Mine was the bonus question. What's the phone number of the Guggenheim Museum? And as we're taking the test, I start hearing everybody laughing throughout the class. And I mean, I guess, you know, some people it would be like devastated and they'd be like, "Oh, everybody's laughing at me." But for me, I was like, "Oh, this is attention. Like, I love everybody's laughing at me."
Look what I did. Yeah.
I know.
So you wrote your first joke, got your first laugh, and your first callback in your set.
In
Wow.
4th grade.
In 4th grade as a 9-year-old. Oh, man.
I know.
We
Talk
can't
about
even accomplish
peaking
those things
early.
now. Yeah.
I still can't do a callback.
Oh, what a story. That's amazing. So you grew up in New York. What part? You're talking about stuff that's in New York City, but you didn't grow up in New York City, right?
No, I grew up upstate. I actually grew up on the Canadian border in a little town you might have heard of called Niagara Falls.
Oh.
Okay.
So yeah. It's
They got
actually
anything there?
With the
a big
barrels.
city. Yeah.
With the barrels,
It's
right?
a big
Okay.
city. But I was like right on the border, so I could like ride my bicycle over to Niagara Falls, Canada, you know, with you had to show your student ID. You never needed a passport back when I was a kid.
You little
needed
terrorist.
a quarter for the turnstile, and then show your student ID, and you could go to Canada.
Wow. Come
But
back
why?
drunk. You just come back drunk.
Yeah, that was a little later, Leonard.
Oh.
You know, 16 or so. 'Cause
Okay.
The drinking age is 19 over there. But yeah, that was a
And you
little
could
later.
just- You could just waltz over, and it was within bike riding distance of the house.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, cities on either side, or just small towns, or I've never actually been
Oh
to
no,
Niagara
they're
Falls.
big cities. Like when I lived in Niagara Falls, it was about 75,000, and now it's like triple that.
Bigger than
it's a suburb
Portland.
it's a suburb of Buffalo, so it's a huge city. I mean, we had 3 high schools, so if that makes, you know, you can visualize that how big it was. And then Niagara Falls, Canada is also a city, but it's more of a tourist attraction, so it's all Like, you got Ripley's Believe It or Not and the Planet Hollywood and like all those things, Hard Rock Cafe, that's all on that side. So even though it's a city, people don't actually live in that downtown area on the Canadian side because it's a tourist area.
So now that's an area even bigger than Portland, Maine, where I grew up, and not as big as the Chicago area where Leonard's from. But I was born and raised in Maine. I've never really been out. I mean, I've been to upstate New York, but not. I can't remember anything about it necessarily. I think I was drunk the whole time. But yeah, that's interesting. I never really thought about that. I always think of places from a way of just being like their own thing, and that I don't know. It's weird. Like you fly there, and then it's like all of a sudden they built it up just for you in that moment. I'm going off on a weird tangent. I can't. It's hard to imagine like other people doing things outside in the world while you're here doing what you're doing. It's like everything stops. I don't know.
And you also meet people at certain points in their life, and you forget that they've had a whole life before you met them. Like your story with them starts when you meet, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that is the start of the story, But yeah, they have this whole other thing going on. And how did you get to me? Oh, sorry, Leonard, go ahead.
Yeah, how did you leave the hustle and bustle and barrels of Niagara Falls?
Niagara Falls.
and what brought you to Maine?
So when I was a senior in high school, I applied to like every college imaginable because I wanted, the first thing on my bucket list was to get out of Niagara Falls. I just wanted to go somewhere else, but I had no money for college. So I just applied to anywhere that I could find. And there was a school down in Chattanooga, Tennessee that offered me a full scholarship. So I said, that's where I'm going. I never even visited it. I just said yes and showed up in the end of August and walked in, and I was like, wow, this is where I am for the next 4 years.
Oh, so we're doing this. Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't really have a lot of choice. I didn't know, like how you paid for college if your parents didn't pay. I didn't know anything about loans or federal aid or any of that kind of stuff. So I just figured I'd go the scholarship route. So
what was the scholarship?
Sorry.
What was the scholarship for?
Oh, come on.
Math?
Academics.
Well,
I wasn't exactly a basketball player.
Like taekwondo. I was on the taekwondo team.
Yeah. It was
I didn't,
dance. No.
Poetic dance. Hey, who the hell knows?
No.
As we just said, people have lives before.
Yeah, and knowing what I know now, like obviously it was great to not owe any money when I came out of school, but knowing what I know now, I wish I didn't go that route because all my friends like partied all through college, and I was like killing myself with homework because I couldn't get below like a 3.75 or I would lose my scholarship.
Grades go that high?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that took a lot to keep on that track. But how I got to Maine was I met a boy in Tennessee that was from Maine. Yep. And day after I graduated from college, got married and moved back to Maine with him.
The day after?
The day after.
You didn't want to wait a week?
I know, right? Like I graduated early. So I graduated a semester early. So I did college in like 7 semesters. So I graduated in December, had my graduation on a Friday, flew home, had my rehearsal dinner, got married on Saturday, and then we moved to Maine on Sunday.
Wow, was he like, we have awesome weather for like 3 weeks out of the year? You really?
I had visited. It wasn't like that was my first trip to Maine. And if you've never been to Niagara Falls, the weather is quite similar to Maine.
Okay.
They get a lot of snow too.
Isn't there like the lake effect snow though that dumps at 2 feet?
Yeah, there's that, but it goes away pretty fast because it melts, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I got to Maine. And I stayed. That was in 1994.
And you didn't think immediately after all that, like graduating from high school, graduating from college, and getting married within 48 hours, that like stand-up comedy is right up your alley, like that, like that moment in time, you're like, this needs to be told on the stage to people. They're gonna laugh their asses off.
Never occurred to me. Never could
Wow.
I majored in elementary education in college, and I thought I was going to be a teacher. And I got a job like January, right after I graduated, and I taught for 6 months. I took over a job of like a teacher that went out on maternity leave and wasn't going to come back. And I taught the class for the rest of the year. And in June, I said, "This is not for me. I am not a teacher." And I never looked back.
Damn.
Wow.
The world needs good teachers.
Yeah.
My family always wanted me to be a teacher, but I'm terrible with names. So I figured that's just not, I can't. Like, it'll take me 3 months to learn these kids' names, and that's not going to look good.
Hello, class. My name is Mr. Go.
Ah, fuck it.
But I should have noticed, like in college, as I was preparing to be a teacher, you have to do practicum and a student teaching and all that. I loved the part about being in front of the class. I loved the vocal part. I hated like actually trying to get someone to understand something like on paper. Like
Right.
everything just clicked so easy for me. It was so frustrating for me to have like kids that just didn't get it sometimes, you know? So I would just spin around and I'm just like, I'm not cut out for this. And then the kicker was, you know, once I actually became a teacher and then like parents are calling me at home and telling me like, how come their kid's failing? Maybe because you never helped them with their homework. You know, I just didn't have the patience or the kind of personality you need to be a good teacher.
Well, fast forward to like a few years from now. You started doing comedy teaching. How is that working out for you? Are you enjoying?
Yeah,
that?
that's definitely very different. So
Okay.
maybe I should say I don't have the aptitude for teaching children. I loved my own children growing up, but I always said like I loved when my boys hung out with other kids because it reminded me why I love my own children. Like other people's kids, nope.
Yeah,
But I have
agree.
used all my stuff, you know, that I learned in college and teaching to teach stand-up comedy. And, you know, I do trainings at my day job and that kind of thing. So that it's all worked out, you know, your life path. You never know where it's going to go. But I always say there's always reasons for everything on the way.
Wow, it all culminated in a wonderful 6 years so far stand-up career. It's interesting. It's just
Can we really count this year, though? Can we really?
Well, no. We're in February of 2021. I mean, we're almost a year working from home now, right?
Right.
Like, are you? I mean, going nuts? I mean, or are you just like taking it in stride?
So my day job working from home, I've gotten used to that part and, you know, I'm okay with that. And actually now to think about getting up early in the morning, showering, getting dressed and driving to an office every day, like before 8:00, that seems impossible because I just haven't done it in so long. And I used to have to travel a lot too, like, you know, to Toronto and all around the country. And even to think about being gone for a week at a time now just is crazy to think because it's so foreign to what this year's been.
I don't even like going to the grocery store.
Oh,
like,
no.
Leaving the house just to go to the store. It's like, oh God.
It's
what am I
such a
doing?
chore, right?
Yeah.
We do the call ahead, the order online, and then we just show up and they just throw it in our trunk now at the Walmart, and that's been fantastic.
You don't even have the strength to get out of the car. Yeah,
no, I don't have the strength to get out of the car. Yeah, I have a lot of weight to carry around. I can't be getting in and out of cars. Come on.
What is this?
I wore my Apple Watch the other day for the first time in probably 3 months, and it tracks your steps. And I had to do a bunch of errands, and I went to like 3 stores in one day, and I got a like top goal for the first 3 months of this year was like 250 steps. I broke my 250 steps.
You get a little alert on your phone. Has someone stolen your Apple Watch?
Did you recently come back from the dead?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
man,
definitely
that's,
not getting as many steps in now I work from home.
Well, that's yeah. Any indication when you think you'll be going back into the office? or is
I
that
don't.
even been?
I don't know if that will even happen. Actually, the company I work for got rid of their space where in Lewiston where I work. So they had 2 buildings with like all these floors, and they're reduced it to 2 floors of one building. So I don't even have a desk anymore. So I don't know if I'll ever go back.
I think that they've just made your decision for you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. I don't think so. So things you're like taking advantage of while being home, you are doing some Zoom shows, and you're also into baking. So it's cool that you get to actually make stuff and you post what you're making for your family and everything. Are you enjoying that part of being home?
Oh yeah, definitely. That was always something I enjoyed in the past too, but I just didn't have time. Like you guys know because you both work day jobs and then did stand-up comedy on top of it. And then you have other activities just as I do with like kids and life and everything. There's just only so many hours in a day. Right. And taking all of those extra activities out, taking out commuting and taking out, driving to Portland 3 nights a week to do comedy, there was a lot more time on the calendar. So yeah, I took back up my love for baking and cooking.
I found that when I started working from home, that 4:30 meant vodka tonic time. So.
You have a little alarm on the Alexa to tell you
that became an issue. I should have baked. I should have learned how to cook. I would have had 10 months of cooking skills under my belt. You mentioned traveling to places, Toronto and different places. Have you done stand-up outside of Maine, New England area when you had the opportunity to travel? Back at pre-COVID.
Yeah, I've hit up places like if I've been there for work, I've hit them up and tried to see if I could get on an open mic or see what I could do. Probably 1 year into comedy, which is not very experienced at all. I had a trip to Philadelphia and I hit up an open mic that I saw like on. I like Googled open mics and found this open mic, and I had a rental car. So I drove to this, I guess it was a bar that had this open mic, and it was a pretty shady part of town. And I like parked my car, and as I was going in, I thought that car's not going to be there when I come back out. But I went in and I put my name down. And of course, at this point, I'd only ever done, like open mics in Portland and Lewiston or Auburn. I hadn't ever done like a big city open mic, and I didn't really know what to expect. What did happen is I was the only white person in that entire bar. And I stuck out like a sore white thumb. And there was very few women in that bar as well. And of course, like I signed up on the thing and they didn't recognize my name. So they made me go first. And I got up there and, I did a few like stupid mom jokes and I got some laughs, but I quickly realized that they were mostly laughing at the thought that I thought I could be in that place.
Oh man.
I'm lost.
Yeah. So I did my like 3 minutes and I sat down and I ordered a drink, and as the thing, was going, I realized like I didn't really even understand some of the jokes that they were doing. And I just quickly got up and left, and my car was still there, thankfully, and I made it home safely, or made it back to the hotel safely. But yeah, that was my first out of state experience. It was not good.
I hope you pay somebody for protecting your car while you were inside.
See, Leonard, I should have had you with me. I didn't know these tips.
You're right.
This is Leonard, my bodyguard.
Besides that, I've done a couple shows in Toronto. I have some contacts up there, and there's quite a arts district in Toronto, so that's pretty cool. And it's super hard to get on an open mic there. Like there's like 2-3 month waiting lists for an open mic.
Whoa!
Wow!
To perform for free. Yeah, I didn't understand how it all worked, but so what I started doing is if I knew I was going to be there in a couple months, I would contact some, the whoever the booker was and say, I'd like to be on this night or whatever. And they'd give me a couple of minutes. I have done one paid show in Toronto, but I ended up not taking the money because it's weird with my day job if I make money in another country and stuff. So I didn't want to do anything weird with taxes. So I didn't take the money for the show, but he ended up buying my drink and my dinner. So
how much were they going to pay you?
Like $50, but when you come over the border, you have to declare if you got paid for anything while you were out. And like, I'm not a good liar. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not, cause it's super weird. So like, if you guys have probably traveled internationally, when you come back, they're like, why were you in this other country? And I say for work, and they're like, oh, and then they have this whole list of questions. And they're like, well, is there not someone in Canada that can do your job? And I'm like, no, all the people in Canada report to me.
You're like, no, I'm incredibly funny, so no one can do much.
But I didn't make any money.
Yeah. So
you can't lie your way. You couldn't lie your way across the border with 220s in your pocket. Seriously?
I don't know.
You're that bad at lying?
I was cool with getting dinner and a drink, and then I just, got in my Uber and went back to the hotel, and anyone listening to this, I did not get paid for comedy in Canada. I don't want to get audited on my taxes.
No, IRS. Listen up, IRS. Nothing untoward's happening here.
Oh man, so you've done it internationally, not to mention outside of Maine, New England, but internationally, Canada.
And by the way, super great audiences up there. Like they love comedy. Like Canada is just awesome for comedy. They're very supportive.
Man.
So is it just that much demand, or is that why it was so hard to even get on an open mic up there? Or you have to know the right people to.
There's just so many people. Like, obviously, Toronto's gigantic. How many millions of people live there, right? Uh-huh. There's just so many people that do comedy up there.
Okay.
Like if you think about like what's the big festival in Montreal every year, Just for Laughs. That's in Montreal, and then people get discovered there or whatever, and they go to Toronto because that's the biggest city. That's like us going to New York City, right? Because that's where you're going to get all your experience. And I think it's the same here, like New York and Boston. It's almost impossible, to get on shows unless you know somebody. It's not like you can just walk in and be like, oh, I'll just
I'm going up. I'm up next. Yeah. No, definitely not. Definitely not a local open mic vibe with going someplace else. Not that we've tried, but maybe someday. Today, like if you said today, do you have enough contacts up there? Like you could get on next week if you wanted to, or is that
probably not next week because there's not any comedy really going on. But I actually have 2 shows in March with a contact in Toronto. He does on Zoom. So he has me doing like one mid-March and one at the end of March for him. Because he called me up, and he's like, I know, you're not traveling up here, but I'm doing Zoom shows. Do you want to be on this? And it's worked out. His Zoom shows are pretty fun. And people have to pay money to get a ticket. And then he pays all the comics, and they work out pretty good. He usually has 30 or 50 people on a Zoom comedy show.
You'll post about that, right? On your media and whatnot. That's pretty cool.
So you're saying you and Leonard would pay money to see me on Zoom? Because I didn't feel like I was getting paid today.
No, there's zero. We're actually we're international now. I'm up in Nova Scotia at this moment, so we can't pay you.
Yeah, sorry.
Based on your job.
We don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah, we had the check all written out. Yeah. So
quick recovery there.
Let's bring it back to Maine though. Like you are a Maine comedian. How do you feel about comedy here in Maine? Like what's your take on, obviously we're in the middle of the pandemic still, but what's your feelings on Maine comedy?
So for me, I think Maine was probably the best place for me to start comedy. Like, I feel like everybody was really accepting around here, and Maine's just kind of laid back compared to other parts of the country. I mean, and for me, I think I needed like that kind of encouragement. If I started, I think, in a big city and started going up and, got ridiculed, if like that Philadelphia show was my first show, I probably never have done comedy again. So I think for me, it's worked out. And, I know like a lot of people kind of aren't as impressed with Maine comedy because, it's pretty hard to get discovered and get like, a big comedy deal because you're in Maine. But that's never been really my thing. I never thought I'd get famous from this. I'm just having fun. So for me, Maine's perfect for that. If anyone else is out there like aspiring comedian and you feel like you want to get a Netflix special and become like a touring comedian, probably Maine's not the place to start, right?
Yeah. Okay. No, that is the truth.
Or the place to stay. You could start, but you would have to branch out, right? To get big time.
But you've had some success as comedy. You won a competition, right? Like what was the competition that?
I won the Strand Cup comedy competition in 2016.
And where was that? Where was that?
In Rockland, Maine.
Okay.
No, that was cool though, because it was filled. It was the Strand Theater is a big theater, and that was obviously I'd only been doing comedy, a little few months at that point, and I think they had like 300 people there, and I got up and did my 5-minute set that I learned in my stand-up comedy class, and I ended up winning the competition. And I've done other competitions. I've made it far in competitions. That's the only one I actually ever won, but I've made it far, and I've had other successes. I've been able to open for big crowds and do things like that. So that's always cool.
Cool.
What do you think is the biggest crowd you've ever? And who, in follow up to that, who's the best, or who are some of the comedians that you've opened up for that that other people would know?
Yeah, probably biggest name I've ever opened up for was Kelly McFarland, who's pretty big out in Boston, and she performed at TD Garden last year. So, but I opened for her in Portland, Maine. So she's pretty big. And then I had the opportunity 2 times to open for Bob Marley because he was performing at the Franco Center in Lewiston, and I just happened to sit on the board there. So I was able to sneak my way in to open for Mr. Marley.
That's the only reason I join boards. Is opportunity to open up for somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. So the biggest crowd I ever did was 450 people, and it was a Baptist church, and it was like a women's barbecue, and they wanted me to be the entertainment at the barbecue. So they like filed them all into the church, and I did stand up in front of. And I was like the headliner. So this is big time. I did like 20 minutes, 450 people, and it was awesome. Like that's definitely my demographic, like women with kids.
Where was this? Where was that church? Where was that?
In Auburn.
In Auburn.
East Auburn Baptist Church. Yeah.
Right. Are they all Baptists?
Yeah, I'm guessing, like that's the denomination of the church, but
you have to show your card as you're going in. You have to show your card.
I will say though, I was never invited back, so maybe I didn't do as good as I thought.
Did you do a lot of like incest jokes or something? Or
no, it was all squeaky clean. It was great.
Squeaky clean.
Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me of something you told me a long time ago. Clean equals green.
Yeah, that's my saying.
Yeah, I haven't found that avenue yet. So I haven't wrote a clean joke or got any money. So it's troubling, but I have that in the back of my mind somewhere. That
So like maybe that's a good thing to chat about. Like if you're just in it to have fun and you just want to do shows at bars and stuff, then you're fine. But if you really want to make some extra cash, it's the corporate gigs that pay. You're not going to make $400 doing a bar with 30 people in Portland, right? But you get a corporation, they want you to do their Christmas party. They're not going to want you up there telling dick jokes, So
what if they
that's
do?
Why though? I came out with. If they do, they would probably not be asking me to be the comedian. But I always clarify that at the beginning, like when someone, obviously haven't done any in 2020, but when someone were to reach out to me and say, we're having this event or we're doing this, do you want to MC? Do you want to be the comedian, I always say, well, like, what's the demographic? Like, what's the audience? And do you want PG, PG-13, R? Because people can relate, like, with movie ratings.
Right. Porn.
Yeah. I learned very quickly, if you say clean, that might mean something to one person and something to someone else. And like, and they're like, oh no, everybody's heard swear words, you're good, you know. And then you get somebody on the stage that's their idea of swearing is very different than someone else's, you know.
Yeah, we had a dilemma with that with Side by Each, the shows we were having here in Auburn, Maine, and we said like, these shows are pseudo clean, and I was like, no, they're kind of clean, but like, no, yeah, you can curse, and I was like, just it's much simpler to go with just the movie ratings, just PG.
And then we had a comedian come up and talk about eating ass.
Yeah.
It was like, what?
Same. I hosted a competition at the Franklin
Is it clean?
Center several years in a row, and the donors there do not want like very disgusting comedy, right? They wanted it pretty PG. And I would tell everybody on the competition, here's the threshold, you know, watch the F-bombs, nothing past PG. And I had a comedian get up and talk for 3 minutes about bestiality. Yeah. That's PG? I don't know. Not in my life. You know?
No, but but you do have a new dog.
Right. I haven't seen a lot of PG-13 movies though, so I don't know. I'd have to check them all out just to see.
It's a difficult line to dance because it's something where, you know, you watch a Disney G-rated movie and they still do some innuendo in there, and as an adult you get it now. As a kid, It goes right over their heads, and then you go PG to PG-13, and you're like, there was an F-bomb in there, I thought, but you know, and then there's other things violence-wise in PG-13 movies. So like, wasn't Saving Private Ryan PG-13? Like, good Lord.
Really? Oh.
No, maybe not. I could be wrong, but anyways, you know.
Yeah, guy got
I'm going off on another. I know. Yeah, exactly. Like that should be something.
So, anyways, getting back to corporate gigs, that's how I start them. As I find out what they want, like, you know, like the Chamber of Commerce up in Rumford, Maine, wanted me to do their annual dinner, which was, I don't know, 300 people. And I'm like, you know, which level do you want? And they were like, oh no, dirty's great. And then I walked in and I saw these people like in suits, and I'm like, I'm not going to get up there and tell anything that I wouldn't say in front of my own kids. Like, it's just not going to happen with all these, like, you know, these were people with the Chamber of Commerce, but the woman running it obviously had a different idea of what's considered dirty comedy and what's clean, you know. Like, to her, I think dirty was like, you know, innuendos. And, you know, obviously there's much more blatant things that people can tell.
So it must be cool to have just the sheer amount of material to decide what type of set you're actually going to do in front of a particular audience. So how do you spend time writing? Like, what do you actually do, and what's the process you go through to add more content, I guess, to your repertoire?
So I will say this year I have not added a lot. I've been super lazy during COVID, and you would think like with more time, you know, I should have been writing a ton, but what my process usually is I'll think of something funny, or I'll say something funny just, you know, with people, and think, oh, people laughed, and I'll write that down, but it's not a joke yet, right? It's just an idea. And I just keep writing ideas down. And then, you know, often like I'll keep running it through my head, like that idea, or something will happen, like a situation will happen, and I might write it down, and then I keep running it in my head thinking there's got to be a joke in there. There's got to be a joke in there. And then one day it will just click, and that's when I write the joke. So if I give an example of one like that happened right before COVID, I have a joke about being approached in Toronto at a bar by two guys, and like, as it was happening, I was thinking there's a joke here, you know, and, you know, I got up and left. Obviously I wasn't going to engage with two guys in a hotel bar, but I was like, there's a joke there. And if I expand the story and embellish it a bit, I bet I could get some laughs out of that. And it's a great joke now.
All right.
So that's kind of my writing process. And what I've done is write out every single joke word for word, so that because what I found over the years is I'm forgetting some of the ones I wrote 5 years ago, because I don't tell them as much, so I at least have that to go back to and say, oh, and then also as you're telling a joke, like I have a couple jokes, obviously I've told for 6 years, and I went back and looked at some of them and I was like, oh, I forgot I had that really good line in there that I haven't said on stage in probably 2 years because I forgot it.
Oh, right.
So that helps too. So that's how I do it, and I organize it, and I just kind of have them all written out. And then when I have to go do a show, I kind of put a set together. But I will say, like, obviously I haven't done very many this year, so I've probably been pretty lazy and I've done the same set a lot for the few shows I've done in the last 3 months.
Yeah, it's been a rough year for stand-up comedy performances in general. Do you find though that you write it one way and then you say it another, or are you like very true to your own voice when you write it down and using words that only you would only use this word instead of this word or whatever, and then that's the way you actually say it, or is it written in a way that you might say it and then you say it differently on stage? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So probably in open mics, I would do that, like change it up a bit, like at an open mic, and try to find the right word. And sometimes, I mean, you guys know this, like you'll be telling a joke and something else, like a tag will come to you while you're on stage and you just throw it out there. And, then I'll incorporate that into the joke for the next time I tell it. But when I'm at like a real show, I rarely throw something in. I just stay word for word for me, because what I usually do when I'm writing a joke is I write the joke out and it's way long. It's ridiculous. And then I try to trim it till you have like the cleanest, most to the point joke. And I think you guys have all been at shows where you see somebody just fumbling with words because they haven't done that part to get it to the funny. Like they have all this other stuff that might, have helped, but they just go all over the place.
You're like, yeah, Leonard.
Yeah, I was just thinking no.
No. It is good advice. So it is something that I've recently got a lot of advice about, is about trimming down words and, getting faster to your premise and getting to the actual joke and getting to the laugh. And, because the faster you get to the joke, the faster you can get to your next joke and the next laugh. And so it's a good exercise to go through.
Unless you only have a couple jokes.
And there's just some words that are funnier than others, right? Like that's when you write it all out, for me at least, to see it visually. I can like look at a word and be like, should this be this instead? Was that be funnier? Mm-hmm. And it is, if you study it that much. Yeah.
So you've done stand-up, a lot of stand-up, but talk to us also about your improv experience, and who did you learn improv from, and how do you feel about improv? And I've done improv with you, and it's been fantastic. So,
my favorite improv is with Leonard Kimball.
Okay.
So improv actually was my first love. I took an improv class 10, 12 years ago now, with Rachel Flanger. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of her, but she used to be on the morning show on WPOR, and she's an actress. She's from New York and everything, and she moved to Maine, and she was teaching an improv class. And I remember thinking improv always looked fun because I'd watched Whose Line Is It Anyway or anything like that. And improv sounded so much easier to me than stand-up comedy because you didn't have to memorize anything or write anything. And I remember for my birthday, I said to my husband, I think I'd like to take this improv class. Can you buy me this for my birthday? And it was crazy. It was like $250 or something for 10 weeks.
Whoa.
And I know, right? And good thing she was good, because that was a lot of money.
It's a hell of an investment.
That's where I first learned improv. And I took her class, and then I took a couple with, his name's going to escape me. I can't remember. Sorry. He passed away.
Improving.
No.
Anyways,
I took another.
If you remember, let us know.
Yeah, I took another couple workshops, and Dave LaGraff. Sorry, that's his name, Dave LaGraff. And I took a couple workshops. So it started being like a thing I did maybe once a year. I would just do like a 6-8 week improv once a week, and then I got. Made some improv friends, and we kind of started a group. We never performed, but we would get together like outside of a class and just get together. And then I started stand up, and obviously you can't doing improv and stand up together was kind of hard time wise. And then when Craft Brew Underground opened, I started my own improv group there called Underground Improv, and Leonard's in that group, which is awesome, along with a lot of other amazing people. And I did some improv and mainly improv. And, improv to me is like a break from comedy. I don't know how you feel about it, Leonard, but for me, when I've been doing a lot of stand-up shows, improv's like a vacation. Like you never know what's going to happen. And it's just freeing. And, you're getting new laughs, like not the same laughs that you've gotten from other jokes, even though you have to know the formula and know how to do the improv. And you're not all by yourself. You're on stage with other people. So you're not completely responsible for all the laughs. So for me, that's how I see improv. It's like my vacation from stand up.
Yeah, you got 3 or 4 other people on stage there helping you, and we're all lifting each other up. And it's more like a little mini party where there happen to be a few dozen people watching you have a party on stage with your friends.
Yeah.
So
I took a class with Tuck Tucker for improv, and then I took another one with Dennis Price. So there's a lot of good improv actors in Maine, and I think I've gotten some tidbits from each of them.
I think living in Maine is all about improv anyways, because like one day you wake up, it's raining, one day it's hot and sunny, and the next day it's snowy and icy. It's, you got to improv your way through life in general. So you call it vacation then. Would you rather do improv than stand up, or like if you had the option? No. No way. No.
Think about it. It can't be Christmas every day. Think how boring it would get if you were doing it all the time. I don't know. Like I think about that too. Like I love going on vacation. I love we travel, go on cruises. I wouldn't want to do it all the time. That's why it's fun, because I only do it once in a while.
Such a great answer. I love it. Well, we texted you about our little segment that we're going to try to do for every show, because we never know where these conversations are going to go. But we've called it "Curse the Darkness," and I'm still a little fuzzy on what the actual definition is, but I think correct me if I'm wrong, Leonard, but it's basically just something that's an annoyance in your life that you really, really wish wasn't there, but you're not going to do a damn thing about it. And
so the proverb is or the idiom is I'd rather light a candle than curse the darkness, and so it means like you should actually do something about the little problems in your life. But what we want to get to is our problems or issues that you've noticed that you don't plan to do a damn thing about, but you might have fun complaining about them. So, all right.
Oh, so we're calling this like Karen Hour or what? Oh, there's just so many. I mean, how much more time do we have? People not wearing masks in public. Obviously, I can't do anything about that, but it really annoys me. Like, I mean, how many things do you need to read that show that it's helping reduce COVID cases if you just put a mask on your face?
So you wouldn't start a fist fight at a grocery store?
No,
because that would be doing something about it.
If it was a good sale, but not over a mask.
Yeah.
Spaghetti sauce, 3 for $4. Put your fucking mask on.
Yeah. Another thing that annoys me, and it's also at the grocery store, is buying items and getting home and then they're expired. Like, I should not have to check the date of everything that I pick up at the grocery store. There is someone employed to do that.
Right, and it's not worth the effort to get back in the car and take this back, and you'd be like the guy bringing back a box of cereal.
Yeah, I know, but I did do that actually twice last week, and I feel like kind of embarrassed. But I was just so pissed about it because I in the last couple years had become lactose intolerant, so there's not a lot of things I can eat that normally would have dairy in them. So I bought this special like vegan creamer, which was $6 for one container. I bought this last week, which was the beginning of February, and I got home and it had expired on November 30th.
Holy cow!
Like, that's a long time to sit on the shelf.
No one noticed the smell?
Well, again, it's not real milk, right? So, but in their defense, I'm probably the only person that buys that at the Lewiston Shaws. So,
and we've just lost our entire Lewiston audience. All right.
Yeah. Well, just the vegans.
Just the vegan Lewiston people. That was our demographic.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man. Wow.
There goes one sponsor.
Wow. That's yeah, exactly. What's the name of the product? No, we can't do that, can we?
And then very similar, the same week I went back, I had bought some vegan cream cheese, and it was also expired like the day before. So I'm thinking probably not the best place to be buying those items. I probably have to go to a specialty natural store or something.
They're just not flying off the shelf fast enough.
No.
Where they pay more attention. I did buy chicken one time, and I opened it up, like a family-sized pack of chicken, and I opened it up, and you could tell as soon as you pull back the plastic.
Oh, that's a bad smell.
Oh, man. So not to end us on a bad note there with that.
Yeah.
Visual image in your nose or that olfactory image. But yeah, it was bad. I did get my money back for that one, but normally I'd just be like, whatever, trash.
So proud of you for lighting the candle on that one.
That was good.
Instead of cursing the darkness. See what I did there?
Yeah.
See what I did
exactly.
there? Okay.
No, very good.
Those improv skills.
Yeah.
They're kicking in. Oh man. Well, this has been a good conversation. I think we got a lot of good content here. I appreciate you talking to us.
Well, thanks for having me. Good luck with the podcast. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Well, thank you very much.
I hope so. Thank you. Really appreciate it. That was our good friend Dawn Hartill.
Yeah, thanks again to Dawn for joining us on the podcast. Be sure to check her out on social media.
As you heard, she's appearing in Zoom shows. She's teaching a class on stand-up in Lewiston, Maine, and she appears regularly at Craft Brew Underground in Auburn, Maine. She's a funny comic who isn't afraid to do a clean set or mix it up with let's call it blue humor.
So again, thanks everyone who listened. Tell your friends and follow Comedy Think Tanked wherever you can. Be sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Instagram at Comedy Think Tanked and Twitter at Comedy Tanked, and email us at comedythinktanked@gmail.com. Good day.
Theme music was written and produced by a minor, Ralph Birgfeld. No comedians were hurt in the production of this podcast. All audio snippets of actual funny punchlines were not written or performed by any of us or our subsidiaries. Rather, they are express written bits of professionals we admire. Let the civil actions be filed. Any opinion heard, actual or implied, is that of Comedy Think Tank's producers and their guests. Any slight, insult, affront, slur, disparaging remark, snub, rebuff, rejection, or spurning, no matter how derogatory, pejorative, or abusive you may feel it is, was not intended but for comedic entertaining purposes only. Thanks for listening.
Let's since it's fresh in our mind and we're excited about it, let's come up with a discussion. Like, I think we should talk about the title and get that conversation out of the way.
Oh, yeah, that's a good yeah, it's actually a good conversation to have.
and then whatever that delves into. So let's start with that. We want to take like a quick pause and then do that.
Oh, like right now? Sure.
Yeah. Do you need to pee or anything?
A little bit. Done.